Hey guys, Matt here. This is my review of the Thunderbolts. This movie is directed by Jake Schreier, who previously did Paper Towns. This movie stars Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Wyatt Russell, and Lewis Pullman. Now, the plot of this movie is these 5 or 6 anti-heroes, characters that are kind of doing their own thing, doing their covert operations, are tasked with a mission. Turns out this mission is a trap. They're all forced to fight each other. And when they escape the mission, they decide to find out who's responsible. And they try to stop them, as well as the big bad evil they have now unleashed. Now, when I first heard they were making a Thunderbolts movie, I got really excited because the Thunderbolts is like Marvel's Suicide Squad. And the Thunderbolts series that I read was involving the Punisher, Thunderbolt Ross, hence the name, Elektra, Agent Venom, Leader. So I was really excited for this. And then I found out who's going to be on the team, and I'm like, okay, this is Marvel once again just reusing characters that they seemingly have nothing, going for them. So they're like, hey, let's put them all together in a movie, let's see what they do. And I was a little hesitant at first, but then I realized, you know what, I like all of these characters involved. I like the Winter Soldier, I like US Agent, I like Red Guardian, I like Yelena. And I was like, Ghost, okay, that's an interesting choice. But then Taskmaster, as a character, I really like. The Black Widow MCU portrayal is another story. But I was really intrigued to see where this movie was going to go. And having seen the movie, I can say, wow, this movie was emotional, to say the least. Now, that doesn't mean that I left the theater, with a box of tissues by my side. But the movie was a surprising treat. It was emotional, as in the sense that it dealt with grief, it dealt with trauma, it dealt with mental health, it dealt with a lot of intrapersonal issues that I didn't expect from a movie not filled with bad guys, so to speak, but just characters that weren't the, heroes that are the face of Marvel. Now, did this movie offer some insight as to what the asterisk means in the name Thunderbolts? Did it include characters that we haven't seen in any of the trailers or TV spots that alludes to, a bigger, badder team in the future? Did it mention things from current MCU lore that might take place in later installments that might get fans really excited? Well, all I can say is that you'll just have to watch the movie and find out. And by the way, there are 2 post-credit scenes in this movie, which I'll get to a little later. So let me start with the acting in this movie. Each of the characters in this film were more or less the same that we saw them before. You have Red Guardian, who's the loud, the boastful, positive father of Yelena, who's always looking for adventure, looking for, that one moment to reclaim his glory once again. You have Helena, the new Black Widow, Red Room person. I'm not sure what her official name is, but she's an operative. And she's missing something in her life. She needs something to fill this void because all she does is just, gets a mission, accomplishes the mission, goes home and is lonely by herself. And I liked how she was the center point of this movie because all the other times we've kind of seen her as like this carefree, jokey, Kate Bishop, hello, you want some macaroni? We could do this, we could do that. She's been cute, and she's been not bubbly, but she's been more positive than negative. So I thought that was an interesting choice to have all of this weight, all of the drive of the film and the plot rest on her shoulders. I like that. You have Wyatt Russell as US Agent, a character I didn't think we would see again, but I'm glad they brought him back because he's another character that, if they want to do an introspective as to how characters feel about their mental health and just their past and, their emotions, that's a good character to do it for. Ghost is in this movie. She's just there, really. I mean, her introduction was in Ant-Man and the Wasp, the second Ant-Man movie. Again, I didn't think we'd see her again. She could have been replaced by, a handful of other MCU characters kind of given a second chance type of thing. But she was there. The actress was fine. Taskmaster, she's there, and she's pretty cool. I wish she got more screen time than she did, but it's nice to see that character again, even for a brief moment. And then we have Bucky, the Winter Soldier, a character that I always like to see. Here, he kind of felt like he was like the babysitter of the group. Like, he joins them and then he helps them, but his reasoning is not really explained. They don't really say, why are you helping us? And he's like, because of this and that. We don't really get that. And then you have Julie Louis-Dreyfus as the Countess Valentina Allegra de Fontaine. Emphasis on the de Fontaine. Her character was introduced in Falcon and Winter Soldier, and I thought she was going to be more of a force to be reckoned with. More, behind the scenes. Almost like a Mrs. Hydra or something like that. But here, she's kind of just like in charge of this group that has this very scientific and this influence that can, have all these things and make all these things happen. And her power wasn't what I thought it was going to be. That's what I'm going to say. It's just what she's in charge of and what she can control and what, she has working for her and stuff. I just thought we would get more from that. But then the power she unleashes, the big bad in this movie is definitely a big bad. If you don't know by now, it's the Sentry. I'm not going to tell you how they come into the fold or what happens, but it's the Sentry. And I can say that this character is like Marvel's Superman. Speaking of Superman, we get one of the, if not probably the best 5-on-1 fight scenes since the Justice League movie, because that fight is crazy good. I just wish that this movie had more superpowered beings. That way we could see a Sentry go up against other people and not just the ones that can just punch and shoot. I mean, after all, we have 3 super soldier people and 2 females with, incredible abilities like super spy stuff, which is cool, but the fight would have been cooler if we had, more Thors and Hulks and stuff running around. So I'll start with the positives of this movie. The movie was really funny. Red Guardian David Harbour is, the light, the beacon of this movie. He's the one that radiates the positivity. Elena, she's funny as well. And the back and forth between her and John Walker and her father, really great. It was a welcomed surprise because this movie is so dark and emotional and just deals with grief that you need characters to kind of bring the light out of people, and that's what they do in this movie. This, again, is like the MCU version of the Suicide Squad. I'm glad the way they were brought together was different than just, hey, we're hiring you to do a job. If you don't do a job, like that. And they gives us, slight chance of another Thunderbolts group going forward, which I like. Now, this movie also reminded me of a Justice League of America story called Pain of the Gods, where Wonder Woman, Batman, Martian Manhunter, they're having to deal with not being able to save everyone and what that loss does and what that grief does to people that have all these powers to do all these amazing things, and they have to look inward. And that's one thing I liked about this Thunderbolts movie that was a pleasant surprise. You had this really emotional tone to the movie that I kind of would have liked, someone like Iron Man or Thor or, Captain America to kind of deal with. Granted, we did get their emotional parts in like Endgame and Infinity War and Tony Stark with Iron Man 2 and 3, but I wanted more from that. And this seems like the most realistic, the most comprehensible, hey, MCU takes place in our world type of tone that we've gotten since Guardians 3. Now, I will say that one negative I had from the movie is that, just like the What If series, Marvel's done this thing where the MCU is essentially revolving around the Avengers group. And when it's not, whenever they have to come up with stories of just different miscellaneous characters, what they do is they're like, okay, let's just circle the wagons and let's bring in characters that everyone's familiar with instead of branching out. Like the What If series. Are we ever going to get what if Punisher's family was never killed? Or what if Wolverine became Loki? Or what if Wolverine worked for S.H.I.E.L.D.? We couldn't get all those stories because Marvel didn't have all these IPs and groups and collective heroes inside. Now, with Thunderbolts, we're getting the same kind of thing. We're getting heroes we've seen before, so it's almost like you have to do required viewing to watch stuff they were in to fully understand the story, which can be a good thing and a bad thing. So overall, this movie was dark and emotional, but it dealt with something that I didn't expect, let alone from a group of anti-heroes. Now, do they explain why the asterisk is the name Thunderbolts? Yes, they do. Which is hopeful, because I'm glad that the Marvel Universe is finally understanding and explaining that, hey, look, ever since Endgame, there are no Avengers. And the Avengers that are left, they're not really a group, so we need a group now. And I like that aspect of it. Is Marvel back? I would say no, not yet, but it does leave us with a nice direction as to what's to come next. So did I like this movie? Yes, I did. It was a pleasant surprise. It wasn't the characters that I would like to have seen in this movie, but hey, there's always hope for the future because the Daredevil show just ended, so we'll see who's brought in at a later date. After all, we get two big epics that are Fantastic Four, Avengers Doomsday, and Avengers Secret Wars right around the corner. So because of that, I'm going to give the Thunderbolts, aka the new Avengers, a grade of a B. So until next time, guys, see ya.